All right, welcome to today's explainer. Let's dive right into a fascinating, almost cinematic piece of history. We're going to follow the story of a young man who crossed oceans, leaving the dusty plains of Texas to completely transform a rural community deep in the heart of Brazil. So, the big question we're looking at today is how exactly a 16-year-old immigrant ended up revolutionizing farming practices deep in the Brazilian interior? Honestly, it sounds like the plot of a Hollywood movie, but this incredible trajectory is 100% grounded in history. Section 1. A fuga do pós-guerra, or the post-war escape. To really understand how he got there, we have to rewind a bit. Following the American Civil War, the southern U.S. was just in total economic and social turmoil. It was turned upside down. This massive disruption actually led hundreds of dissatisfied families to pack up and leave in this huge, highly organized emigration out of the country. They were looking for a fresh start, a clean slate, and they found it in Brazil. This move was actively encouraged by Emperor Dom Pedro II, who really wanted to boost agricultural development and populate the interior. This post-war exodus is the essential backdrop to our entire story. Now, looking at his timeline, the year 1867 is an absolute standout. Adam was literally just a 16-year-old kid when he made this massive, life-altering leap to Brazil. Just imagine the sheer courage that took. He arrived with his dad, William Rankin Bowen, navigating this crazy, tumultuous maritime journey to a totally foreign land. Different language, different climate, different culture. They were forced to start completely from scratch. Moving on to Section 2, O Destino, Minas Gerais. Geographically speaking, his story started way back in 1850 in Milam County, Texas. And when you think about where he started, his eventual destination, deep in South America, it's mind-blowing. After initially settling in São Paulo with other Americans, he didn't just stay put. He eventually ventured far, far away from the comfortable coastal regions, opting for a much more isolated, challenging path inland. The sheer contrast between his two worlds is honestly staggering. Picture it. On one side, you have the arid plains of Texas. On the other, his new reality in the remote, highly traditional Brazilian towns of Itabira and Marliria, which, fun fact, was actually known back then as Babylonia. Historical accounts hint that some family friction probably pushed Adam to leave the established American bubble in São Paulo, driving him toward this completely different, super rural frontier where he could forge his own path.
Seção 3. Revolução Agrícola em Itabira.
And this brings us to what I think is the most fascinating part of his time in Minas Gerais, his profound impact on local society. Around 1882, Adam's advanced farming knowledge really catches the eye of the locals, and he gets invited to teach at the brand new agricultural school of Itabira. But here's the thing, he totally refused to be stuck behind a desk. Instead, he traveled all across the Rio Piracicaba Valley, giving hands-on, practical lessons directly to traditional landowners. By introducing modern plowing techniques and way more efficient crop management methods from the U.S., he successfully broke right through the rigid agricultural mindset of the entire region. One of the sources actually describes him as an enzyme for good, a catalyst, a bridge between a distant past and the present days. I just love that phrasing. It hits the nail right on the head. He wasn't marching in and forcing modernization down their throats. He was a true bridge. He connected modern, efficient techniques with the deeply ingrained traditions of Brazilian farming families, lifting up the local economy without erasing their heritage. Which brings us to Section 4, Raízes e Legado Familiar. Now, beyond the farming revolution, we have to look at how fully and honestly joyfully he integrated into the local culture. During one of his farm lessons in Marliria, he met Josefa, and get this, to marry her, the Texan immigrant actually converted to Catholicism. He completely embraced his new community. He raised a large family and became affectionately known as Senor Adam. He was this highly spirited, playful guy who was known to play the harmonica in church and lovingly taught his Brazilian kids to sing in English. Together with Josefa, he built an incredibly solid family foundation. And by the way, Josefa was quite the trailblazer herself. She ended up becoming the very first post office worker in their region. Together, they navigated life across a few different rural towns before finally putting down permanent roots in Timóteo in 1922. There's this really beautiful insight from his granddaughter that tells us everything we need to know about his character. She noted that Adam had the background and knowledge to go back to a wealthier, more developed place like São Paulo whenever he wanted. But he chose not to. He deliberately chose to stay. He just didn't care about material ambition, finding absolute wealth instead in the deep affection and warmth of his rural Brazilian family. And he never really slowed down. Even in his later years, moving to Timóteo at age 72, he kept right on contributing. Sure, he stepped back from the heavy lifting, but he acted as a highly respected agricultural consultant for local farms. He lived this incredibly full, impactful life until he passed away in 1933, leaving behind a massive, proud lineage that is literally still thriving in Brazil today. So as we wrap up this explainer on Adam Bowen's epic journey, it really makes you think, doesn't it? What rich, hidden historical epics might just be sitting there, undiscovered, right inside your own family tree? What wildly adventurous ancestors are waiting to be found? Thank you so much for exploring this journey with me today. And hey, go do some digging into your own history. You never know what you'll find.